Take 5 with Ricovibes, the ultimate in entertainment. Live interviews, social commentary, and so much more. Go tell somebody you're now locked into Take 5 with Ricovibes.
It's yours truly, Ricovibes, and welcome to Take 5, another brand new episode. I'm here in Caribbean Life TV, the studio, the headquarters.
Yes.
With the president, the CEO. I don't even know what to call you, man.
CEO.
You're everything.
Boss man.
Boss man.
No, I think they'd be kidding me. Everybody call me boss man, but then they laugh at the end. But no, they really see me evolve and learn what I need to learn to be able to have that title comfortably.
Gotcha.
Because it's an effort, it's an evolution.
Gotcha.
To fill that role and do it right. So
folks, this is Mr. Lawrence Prescott. Just your name sounds executive.
Do you know that I've always heard that?
Really?
I mean that
I'm telling you.
Everybody say, you seem like you should be somebody famous or important. No,
so they're assuming that you're not somebody
Prescott.
yet.
Right. But coming up, honestly, coming up through the years, they've always said that.
Gotcha.
My dad also named Lawrence Prescott, so I'm a junior.
Oh, so you're a junior.
So when people try to call me Larry, Wayne Hall.
Wayne Hall.
He called me Larry. Well, he's the only man in Atlanta called me Larry, but I let him because he's my brother.
Gotcha.
But Lawrence Prescott, yeah.
Okay. So take us back to your roots. You were originally from Guyana.
Yes,
South America. And make sure I say it right because enough people say Guyana. We're Caribbean folks. We say Guyana.
Guyana. That's the right pronunciation.
So you're from Guyana.
Yes. It's the only English-speaking country on the continent of South America. Do your homework.
See, that's some education for y'all right
Yes.
there. What made you get into this business, or did you originally get into this business?
Yeah, but I didn't want Atlanta to know how long I've been doing it. But for you,
see, you know what? I'm going to expose. I'm going to expose you, my brother.
I went to acting school since the early '80s.
Okay.
And did tons of stage performances
as
part of yes. And then after graduating acting school, I got hired on to act professionally on the national stage.
Okay.
That included acting for the president of Guyana in one of the productions.
Really?
For his
Who
birthday.
was the president then?
Lyndon,
let me date you.
Yeah, Lyndon Forbes Sampson Burnham.
Wow, Mr. Burnham.
Yep, and it's in the mid '80s. It was 1985 or just around there, and it was an honor. It was a big production called The Inheritance.
Okay.
So it had dance and it had all kinds of different cultural pieces within the production. And I happened to work on the production and on stage in the production. So it gave me a multi-layered experience because I learned how they were able to put it together since the 80s. And I even got some paraphernalia, so people who wanted to test me, I got original contracts.
The original contract?
Yep,
who
from
does
1985,
that?
signing as a professional actor at the on the national stage in Guyana. So years later, came to America in the 80s, and life happened. Married and kids and all those things. And while I was winding down my career, I went back to school. And I went back to school for photography at Clayton State. But what it did, it's the right word, reinvigorated me, if that's the right word. But what it did is the passion came back.
Gotcha.
So I started with the photography and learning that and learning how to do that, and just evolved into video and video production.
And was that here in Atlanta?
Yes, here in Atlanta, New York. I was part of the hustle and bustle of everything in New York.
Right.
And people that knew me from the stage in Guyana was like, yo, well, you're not in acting. And I think I had a little insecurities back then. And here's how. In Guyana, if you talk, there's nobody saying you have an accent or the questioning your accent. We all sound alike. So there was never challenged until I came to America.
Got it.
And so I realized that they was like, they didn't understand always what we were saying. But I just started looking up at the greats and the Sidney Poitiers that came from the Caribbean and gained good prominence in acting, in film. And he had an accent. It wasn't as profound or pronounced.
I mean, he took speech classes as well.
Right.
So.
See, I didn't know that. Yeah. And so once I realized that there were a lot of greats from the Caribbean that came before me, it made me more relaxed and more comfortable. So I started doing some things with the different places I worked. Marta being one of them. They had a production the big picture, and I was part of that in the play and helping putting that together in the late '90s, and then I just started evolving into what my passion was, being around cameras and production again, and it just evolved over the years.
Wow.
So I've been in Atlanta since '99,
Right.
but I was busy working. Worked for
The regular 9 to 5.
Yes, like
Right.
everybody else, fighting traffic every day.
Right.
But I was fortunate to retire early,
Gotcha.
and in that retirement, I went into fitness, and so I owned a fitness center for a number of years down in Fayetteville.
Okay.
And then when that closed in 2017, I started Caribbean Live TV 2018, and out of the trunk of my car, and just kept pushing. Because I noticed when they hired me to do pictures for big events, and including 2 presidents from Guyana, they visited Atlanta, and I was the official photographer, right? But who interviewed him? There was nobody asking them nothing.
Gotcha.
So there was a whole lot of content left on the
Right.
table. And I said,
So
well,
there was
why
a-
not me?
you saw
There was a
that
void.
void.
Yeah,
Correct.
right word.
Wow.
And I just evolved into saying, well, I'm going to be the one to capture that. Didn't know how, and I didn't have a whole lot of examples. So I failed forward,
Right.
stumbled forward, and then people started coming on board to help guide me and saw my vision and my passion and stood with me. And now here I am. I'm on the shoulders of a lot of people that stood with me
Correct.
from 2018. And so here I am on your show.
Now, before you, there were, we had a conversation about maybe 4 or 5 years ago.
Yes.
When I said to you, there were people before you.
Yes.
So, I'm going to encourage you, but know that you're going to have people who's going to be against you.
You told me that, though.
Yes.
You and another person, I think Wayne Hall had mentioned that, he see me and he said, it's a rough environment out here. So just keep your head down and do what you came to do.
But you strived through it, and I'm proud to say that we're here now in the new studio at CLTV. Talk a little bit about the journey, from then to now.
Yeah, and it's easy because I started a different studio and was doing fine, but with production, it didn't have the sound that I was looking for. And so I always had the aspiration to have my own. And it's just ironic that in the middle of COVID, in 2020, while I was driving down Memorial Drive, because I would drive down major thoroughfares looking for commercial locations that I wanted to put my studio in.
Right.
And it just happened that I got to the end of Memorial. I wasn't seeing anything I liked all the way, and I got almost to the end of Memorial Drive, just before 78. And a small still voice said, look to the left. I look to the left and I see a building that looked unoccupied.
Correct.
And so I turned in and looked in the window, and of course, I see all these empty spaces. There was one business on the plaza, so there was nothing moving because it was May
It was
2020.
It was almost abandoned,
Right.
to be honest with
Yep.
you. Yeah.
And so I called the number, and the gentleman said he'll be there in an hour. And I talked to him, and he came, opened and showed me all the options here. And he said, no one is looking for property. What you doing? I said, well, I want to do photography. He said, well, it's COVID. Ain't nobody going to come and do photography.
Right.
But something in me said, just go for it, right? And so, yes, in 2020, in the middle of COVID, May, I pursued this location and got it at COVID rates. So I took a chance and I jumped head first, and then before I could open, I got COVID, and I was hospitalized for 5 days in hospital.
Very bad.
July, very bad.
Yeah.
And it really took me all the way down to my purpose, when your life starts flashing in front of you, because when you're in there by yourself,
Yes.
we call it the come to Jesus moment.
Yes.
And so I knew that I had the keys to this place. And, with the relationship with your maker, you know that if he saved your life, it's time to go live your life.
Yes.
And so getting off that COVID bed and God's bringing me out from that experience, I know that I have to go live, go try, give it your all, because 5 days ago, you never knew what would have happened.
Yeah.
So I came home, and with the help of my family and friends, I got started. But what was beautiful from the day that I came over here and got started, people came with an empty place with no nothing. People start saying, I want a book. Yeah, I'm gonna give you time to get you whatever you need to get, but I want to sow a seed into you. I want to book 3 productions. Here's a check. Another person said, well, I want to do my show. Here's X amount of dollars, and just saw my bigger vision. So even though I'm now starting, people immediately recognized that there was a movement, and they sewed into that movement. And I just kept my head down, kept focused, and learned a lot. I partnered with a great partner, Mr. P, that taught me a lot, and he was instrumental in having me learn things that I didn't learn before. Right. More fancier, newer cameras, and but we also learned together how to film a sitcom. We filmed 2 sitcoms early, and then we started making movies. And that was fascinating to me, only because that was not the skill set that I knew was in me.
You were in front of the camera at that point, right?
And being asked to film a movie, and me saying yes was a faith walk in itself, because I'd never filmed anything that big. Yes, small productions, yes. Yeah. But the structure of a movie and how it's supposed to be done, that was new. And Mr. P and I learned that together. And it's not ironically, prayerfully, that movie now is going to be shown in 3 weeks. And I'll say that 3 weeks, and it's going to be shown on Aspire TV. And so not to date it or timestamp, but I'll just letting you know that is an evolution. Your first movie is now on mainstream TV, being shown at prime time.
What's the name of that movie?
The Last Rose.
The Last Rose.
Directed by Prescott. And so there are a lot of people. She gave me my first opportunity filming 2 sitcoms and my first film. What is beautiful about that journey is that when I was able to acquire our first film, Mr. P and I, we hired her as our first director to film, to direct our first film. And that is our latest project. And so that is going to be coming out sometime soon. Okay. It's called Object of My Infection.
Object of My Infection.
Yep.
That's
and
different.
It's different. And so it was a script that Mr. P saw online, and we acquired it, and then learned the entire process from script to a finished product. So guys out there, if you want to have your movie made, know that not just Lawrence, because I do have a team, and we could take your idea, a book, or a script, all the way from its inception all the way to a finished product, because we were able to do it for ourselves. And when you see the quality, you will understand why I'm saying that.
Gotcha.
But we had to learn that journey. So my evolution from the studio and how it started now to knowing how to deliver a movie in its entirety. And this movie, what we decided to do is have our films have a social value. And in this instance, Object of My Infection talks about domestic abuse.
Gotcha.
And spousal abuse and spousal rape in some ways, and about getting help and those things, and substance abuse and those things. So people say, well, you're getting too deep, but you want to make sure that the things that you're doing or the legacy that you're leaving is impactful. Because yes, as Caribbean folks or American, it didn't matter. We know that abuse is happening, and we know that it's linked to something. And so know that there's help out there for everyone, man and woman. And this film highlights that. And so when it comes out, we'll love to have you guys take a look. Object of My Infection. But I like that you've given me a chance to tell the journey from being on the COVID bed all the way to where I'm at now. And I'm grateful for that opportunity.
Because I've watched your journey.
Yeah.
I've watched your journey from this being just a space to where it is now.
Yeah.
And now you're evolving into radio.
Yeah.
As well. Talk about that.
So I've been on numerous radio programs promoting different things over the years. So I like the medium of radio. I like the fluidity of it. And this is number one rule in production: put your phone on silent. So I apologize, guys, and we take care of that right away. So the radio piece came about in 2019. So at the time, I was fooling around with getting an online radio, but I was doing it through an IP type situation. And I didn't give it the energy. I know I wanted it, but I didn't know the steps, right? So I created a Facebook page called Caribbean Life Radio. So I timestamped myself that I had the idea since then, and that's beautiful. But what happened over the years, with getting the studio, in the last 2 years, the podcasting was a thought. So we started doing that, and we were pushing out decent quality podcasts with good subjects, good interaction. And one of my good friends came by one day, and he was like, "So, what you doing with this room? What are you gonna do?" I said, "Well, I thought about radio." He said, "Radio? Yeah, I think we should do radio." And that person happened to be someone that I respect in the business, and that is Reds, DJ Reds, and he encouraged me forward to say, "Listen, let's do it." So I entered into a partnership with him, and now we own Caribbean Life Radio. What's beautiful is that it has already been impactful, right? So we've started to create a couple of shows, and we're being very deliberate in what we put to the audience.
Right.
And the format that we're choosing is more talk radio, more intelligent conversation, not chasing likes and fires. We're more focused on quality. And so we've already had the likes of Prescott, Minister Scott, and Samantha Summers, the president of the Caribbean Association of Georgia. And we highlighted those things. We've had a couple of African leaders on. They have the African Festival out in Lawrenceville, and Donna McLeod, Austin Thompson, so on. They're all politicians. So we wanted to let the community know that is the type of content that we want to give back to them in an educated way. So the radio piece is really going well. It starts to earn money already in terms of advertising dollars and stuff like that. So I think what Reds encouraged me into is something that I'm happy that I took him up on, and he's been a really instrumental part in its success. Because he knows,
he's been in the business for years. He's been in business for years.
So shout out to you, Reds, man. Listen,
he's got that knowledge.
Thank you for your partnership, bro. Yeah.
What's next for Caribbean Life TV, and what's the goalpost for you?
Yeah, great question. I think as I now are putting a better team around me, I think that it gave me the space to now landscape out what is next. We got a big project coming up at the start of the year that involve a well-known international Jamaican comedian. That's all I can say.
Okay.
And that will help with a show that I co-owned with a couple of other wonderful ladies, including Chris Scott and Christine Newton and Camille Fitzsimmons, called The Stocktons. And so keep an eye for that coming out early next year. We've done 2 pilots, so it's not something that I'm now trying to do. We've already done it. What the network wants is some stronger leads, and we were able to talk through that, and that is coming. And in this business, you gotta always say, stay tuned.
Well, you got to be flexible as well.
Yeah. So that's one of the big things that's coming in terms of landscaping out. God has blessed me with writing a layout for my next film that I own. And the running title right now is Hustle Yard. I was just woken up out of my sleep and just wrote feverishly the whole layout from start to finish, so I know that he's in the mix of my creative journey. So me producing that on my own and making sure that I'm able to continue to say that I know how to do your film. Because once you see the quality films that I'm producing for myself, you'll see that I can do it for you. So that's one in terms of what's coming. Studio-wise, production. What is amazing about that, there were several shows that I did over the years that have not seen the light of day because of economics or different reasons. But now with the space and the resources, I'm able to go back and retool and get it done better with better equipment. So just being patient with the growth, no rush. The studio on its own for 2 years in COVID or COVID-y has been able to sustain itself. And it has allowed me to have full ownership and not be able to sell out or do anything different. So I'm glad that when it was rough, it helped me to maintain through the rough times. And so now that we're evolving out, 2023 is looking amazing. New partnerships. So those are some of the things landscaping out that makes me comfortable that I'm on the right path.
Gotcha.
Yeah, so just one day at a time, man. No rush. I'm, like I said, retired, so I got all the time and space. I got time.
Wow.
Yeah.
Being from Guyana,
yes.
Do you plan to do anything in that space? Go back to Guyana, do some stuff there as well?
Man, and see, I knew I needed to come on this show because I've never been guys. Tune in. I've never been asked that.
Right.
And so to answer that comfortably is that I just went back to Guyana June. And the last time I was in Guyana was 1996.
Wow.
So I am not someone that have gone often. In over 30-something years, that was the third visit. But what that did for me was let me see Guyana now. And Guyana now has room for me. And what that means is that we have a new story to tell, right? So I was fortunate to be well connected after being on several boards of directors in the metro area, made some good relationships home. So when I went home, I was able to go into the matrix and have good conversations with the people that are decision-making folks at a good level. And so what they're offering is there's a place for you, there's a space for you. What is being worked out is how it's being sustained or paid for.
Gotcha.
And I've learned now that I don't always have to put out my money. I know that there's money out there for good quality content or content creation.
Yes.
So I'm moving within that vein that, okay, do all the legwork, tell me when it's time for me to come and set up. And so my next trip, I was supposed to be in Guyana now for the CPL, the cricket, the big cricket league thing that is going on. And scheduling, it didn't work, but it was the best opportunity, right? But it didn't work this time. What I'm hopeful for is that now that I'm known there at the right level, now the navigation into an environment, I don't want to come as a visitor.
Gotcha.
So my whole goal is to come as an entity that could provide value to the whole
diaspora.
The whole, yeah, because it's one Guyana. And as much as, it seems fragmented in some ways like every other place, my goal and my storytelling is from that one Guyana's perspective. And so I wanted to make sure that as I navigate home, is navigating the whole of home, not only out of the lens of a few. So I'm being patient with that delivery and making sure that when we go as a team, we go in and have the flexibility and access to tell the whole story. And ironically, today we are taping a show with one of the Guyanese historian. And then again, you got to wait and see when it come out. But today we are doing that. So we're starting to tell the story as recent as today.
It's funny because we see content from Jamaica, of course.
Yes.
Trinidad and other islands, but we don't see a lot of content from Guyana for whatever reasons.
So that is a fair statement. But when you start to dig a little deeper, we are relegated to the corners of the internet, which is YouTube and stuff like that, and some Facebook stuff. But as a collective, I met someone and interviewed a young lady that is in a position that is part of the Caribbean Film Festival or something like that out of New York and Miami, and I was able to interview her. And she also lives in Guyana. What is beautiful is that it's a whole movement out there.
Really?
I didn't know. And
Same as me.
Yeah, it's my good friend that now lives in Miami, that we all know, that is instrumental in this media business, by the name of
Jason
Skywalker.
Jason Skywalker.
Listen, big up yourself, big up.
Yes.
He was able to call and say, hey, I got a young lady that is in this field and that will bring great value to what you're trying to do, and introduced us. So I have that connection, and I was like, wide-eyed at it. I said, you exist? I didn't even know it was a whole movement, right? So yes, there's films that people have made, and it could be short films, all kinds of stuff of Guyanese descent or Guyanese heritage. One of the films that I know for sure is a film called Seawall. I forgot who directed it. It's a young man, out here, and then there's a Yapet Jackman. He's out of Ohio State University or something like that. I connected with him. But he's also a filmmaker. Now he moved to New York, and he's passionately doing that there. I don't know if he's doing it as a Guyanese filmmaker, because at some point we evolved out from the Guyanese title. We just happen to be Guyanese. We're filmmakers.
Correct.
And so I don't know if you look for a Guyanese filmmaker, it would necessarily come up. We'll have to know what projects they're doing.
What project it is, and the name.
Yes. Yeah. So yes, those individuals do exist, and those projects do exist. It's just some extra research. You'll find them.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
You starting out as a thespian in front of the camera, so to speak. Where are you most comfortable? You've done work in front of the camera. You're doing the majority of your work now behind the cameras.
Yeah.
Where are you most comfortable?
As a producer.
Okay, so behind the cameras.
Yes, I like now. I think it's as a mature person. I think we don't have a shelf life, but I think we have a shelf life where we could give opportunity. The better use of that life is giving opportunities to the next generation and to the next set of young either filmmakers or content creators or even producers. I think if you know how to make it happen, it is okay to not necessarily fall back, but play a position that is more of a quarterbacking position. I think you bring the best value, because then you could impact more people. Because if, as a person in front of the camera, yes, your image and what you say projects out worldwide, but if you have a creative mind, you could also create content and give opportunity to people behind that camera in terms of direction that lends a bigger value, because then you're training up the next generation. And what's beautiful about that is that I do that, but I do it so effortlessly, because people say, I want to get into the business of what you need to learn. Right. And give them, and even with the people that you see in front of the camera, they're not even in this type of business. And so, I know most of them, so I know where they're coming from. Right.
So for you to give them that medium, and for you to give them that exposure is,
and then they get excited, like, I didn't even know I like this stuff.
It's a wonderful thing.
No, but I've seen, and even with what you do as well, I think as creators, we are deliberate with what we are trying to create, and the quality of the content that we're trying to put out. And what's beautiful about that is that it gives us that gatekeeper type feel, you know, like, okay, we know our community, we like the quick, fast. If you go on YouTube, you could get a whole bunch of what's happening, who shot who. They create that all day long for their benefit. What I'm saying, there should be an alternative to that type of reporting, because that side do exist in all of our islands where something bad, and it's easy to get people to interact with that shooting or killing or graphic images and stuff like that. I've chosen to stay away from that. I remember coming into this business, and there was a lot of things happening in Guyana, and people were disappointed that I'm not in the political fray, telling who did this and who did that. And I chose not to do that because I saw it was already being reported. So I didn't want to be another reporter on that. I just choose to tell the stories that I want to tell. It's okay for somebody else to go do it. I'm not in a race with that.
Gotcha.
What I was doing is developing my identity and what I want to tell. And it's more content that would have a longer shelf life.
Gotcha. What is it like having all these different personalities around you, and you coming from a space where you're doing it yourself?
Yes.
And now you have to either delegate or rely on other folks to put your vision out there.
Yeah. So the one word.
What was that journey like?
Great question. I think one of the words that come to mind is trust, right? Because you got to trust your judgment, right? And if you, as an individual and mature individual, once you heighten your spirit of discernment, I think that is your compass for you.
Right.
That's your God compass. And so as people come around with these different personalities, what I've learned to do is listen to them, understand what they're trying to do, see if it matches where I'm trying to go, and if it does, then they get to come to the front row, but it's still you're managing energy. And what I do is focus on managing people's energy. So there's different days that it goes up, where it could be a strong discussion or a stronger interaction, and I'm okay with that because that's also part of my personality. I'm easygoing and laid back, but I'm also a thinker. So if you present something to me and I don't agree, I think that I reserve the right, not as a boss, just as a person listening to what you're saying to me, to say, well, yeah, I hear you, but I think I want to move this way or I want to do it this way. And if it's not respected, I've learned to stand my ground and rub people differently, and I'm okay with that. And I became okay with it because there was a period where I was afraid of losing people. So I was, my matrix game was too on, right? So I'm bending all the way back till I'm almost breaking my back. So I'm interacting with them, but I'm interacting them from this position where they're strong, and I'm dealing with you. But what I've learned to do over the years is just stand upright, stand in my square, and face it head on. And if it's not what I want to do with the different energies to the question that you ask, is just be rigid in what I want to do. Or no, be steadfast is a better word, in what I want to do, and let my thoughts and expression be clear. So they would have to adjust around me, do whatever they needed to do, but understand that this is what I want to do. And once I started doing that in life, what I noticed is that the people who was comfortable with making me to communicate with me from this position start to fade away, because then they're comfortable like this. And once I started being steadfast and standing in my square, I think they realized that, okay, that time is over. I've gained the confidence that I need to gain, and I'm articulating back to them exactly what I want to do. And so the ones that is around or stayed around or still interact from their positions, but they respect mine. And so I think that's a beautiful question, because in anything that we do, I think that can always be the dynamics of people.
Yeah.
Right? Personal or professional. Yeah. And learning yourself and learning what you're able to tolerate, or because change is good. Change is great. And so a lot of the successes that you're seeing in my life is because I'm open to change. Good. Right? And so my way is not always the right way, or not always the way that it should be. And so I've been doing stuff my way, and it worked up to a point, but I'm here. But if I want to get to here, and you come to me with a conversation that takes me here, I'm open to listening to that conversation every day, every time, because I'm really trying to get here. Correct. And so the people that is here, they want to keep me here because that's their ceiling. I promise you. Yeah. And so keeping me here is comfortable for everyone around me. And then so the minute that this person comes and start talking about here, and I'm looking over there and trying to get there, it caused this people here to have some challenges, right? But what I've done is stayed steadfast because I'm trying to get to the next level. And whatever that next level for me looks like, that's how I'm able to evolve and get to that next level, because I'm always flexible about getting to that next level. It's not one path or one person.
What's the most important advice as an entrepreneur?
Yeah.
You've worked in corporate America. You've had your own business for years.
Yeah.
What's the most important lesson you think you can give to a person out there who wants to be like yourself, but just don't know the steps to get there?
Yeah.
What can you advise them?
Well, first I'll tell you a 30-second answer to that part first. I remember working in transit, and the supervisors that was hard on me always knew that I wanted to be an entrepreneur, because everything I focused on outside of work was entrepreneurship. And so the day that I went into the office and said that I was going to retire, and they heard, at least two of them start to cry. Because what they said is, I want to do exactly that, but I'm so scared. I got more time than you. And I could have retired before you, but I'm just scared what that looks like outside of a structured paycheck.
Correct.
So to say that, I've interacted with people that want to do what we do, but the discipline that comes with what we do requires a faith in your belief system that says, this is what I want to do, and I'm going to stick with it, even when my pocket is empty. Because it's not really empty. It's just a delayed gratification or success or return on investment and all of those things, but they don't know that. And I didn't know that initially. But I would say to someone that is aspiring to be like themselves, because it's not necessarily like me, but in entrepreneurship, I think all you have to do is trust what you want to do next. So if you want to be a boxer, as simple as that, it would require start to train while you still work. Start to get your management while you still work. Let them tell you if you have a chance of being that. But once you believe that you are that next heavyweight fighter, start to train, start putting those people around you first, and let the energy of the change be what catapults you to the next step. Meaning, as you train and get more fit and all that, be like, nah, this is what I want to do. I've been through the pain of training, and I'm now ready to leave that and be a professional boxer 100%. So that's in the fitness part, in the sports part. But in the entrepreneur side, I think that if it's something that is you wake up every day that you think about, but you don't know how to start, my recommendation to you is to start, right? And what that means, let it be the things that you think about all day. Start doing the things that are free to do, whether it's research, making sure that you have all your ducks in a row in terms of what I need to do to register my business. Find out all the things that you need. Then look at other people in the same industry and their growth and see how that works. Do your research. Because in doing your research, you could either make it or break it, right? You say, well, people that digging graves now is going out of business because they got an excavation that does go like this and the hole is dug, right? So yeah, you want to be a grave digger, but if you're going to buy an excavator, then go to that first rather than being a grave digger.
Right.
So making sure that you go through the things that help you make that solid decision. Once you make that solid decision, I think that you go to the next step by getting yourself, birthing your idea, right? Somebody wants consultancy. So they're waiting to get what? No, go register your consultancy, get your website and get all the things that you could do in the meantime. But start speaking it. Hey, I do consultancy. I can help your business go from X to Y. And let the market and the traffic change your direction. So what that means is as you work, start telling it. And what's his name is a great example, Austin Thompson Jr. And he's been in business consultancy for years. I knew it because I covered many of his events all the way to Gwinnett College in Gwinnett County. But he's also been the person that conducted my retreat with my team and give us a business plan and a direction for years while he was working.
Wow.
And this year is the year he said, you know what? I am stepping away from working and I am going to start, I'm now a business consultant. But he had it for years. So I like that journey, and it's a real life story because he also helped my business while he was working. And not to tell on him, but I like his consistency with what he wanted to go to next. He let the market determine when it's ready to transition. So if he made $200,000 a year, what he did was start making some money from his consultancy enough and build enough traction, and then say, you know what, hey corporate, I'm gonna switch. And so I like that as an example because it's actual for me. I saw that happen. So to answer that, it is all you being passionate about whatever comes, whatever that God thought or God energy tells you to do, then having a structures around it. You could jump. But before I opened up this studio, I was at another studio working at somebody else's place before I learned how to do this. So yeah, great question.
Where can folks find you?
Talk like a big boy. All over, man. Just Google me. No, but
Caribbean Life TV is on Roku, of course.
Oh, yeah. That was one of the things that I wanted because people over the years misunderstood my direction. And they weren't flexible with the fluidity of my direction, right? So you can start off, remember there was no examples for me.
Correct.
So when I launched, I was supposed to have a TV channel and I was going off to Comcast and thinking that the old, not antiquated, but that medium is not dying only, but people are consuming their content on their phones and on their devices. So I spent a whole lot of time and effort going in that direction, thinking that, well, you need to see me on TV. And so I'm answering it this way to say that now I'm on Roku. I still have the YouTube channel. But what is next is creating a Caribbean Live TV channel, right?
Gotcha.
Because, again, examples, I saw someone else do it, and I felt that to say that we have our own channel, it is easier, low-hanging fruit, but as the gatekeeper, I'm able to dictate the entire process, right? So from content creation to content delivery. And being able to be in charge of that entire lane gives you the power truly as not just an entrepreneur, but the person that is in media, having that whole lane. A place to produce it, the equipment to make it happen, and a place to put it that is yours. So same with the radio. Having a radio station is good. Having a room to create it, and then having an app for it to go. So with the radio, we already have our own app, Caribbean Life Radio app, which allows us that full chain. But what is next is partnerships. So I'm having conversations with several other content deliverers, right? And their encouragement to me is like, listen, if you're producing good content, we need it on ours as well. So I've been able to have those type of conversations. It's called distribution.
Right.
And I think you are one of the key people that we've seen in this community that focus on distribution so that you have the leverage not only in advertisement, but where people's content could be heard and seen. And so you've been the example for a lot of us, you know what I mean, as a way, sure. We got to be able to also say that because we think that we just arrive by ourselves. So I stand on the shoulders of platforms like Caribbean Focus TV with Jacques Duplessis, right? Because he was one of the people before me that did that. And I worked with him briefly and I learned from him as well. So there's people that definitely have been the example before. And so the natural evolution is just where else could you see the content? And that's what I'm working on.
Okay. So we know exactly where to find you.
Yes.
We know exactly.
I didn't say that. I think Roku is not just only thing. I think if one of the places that we want the people to engage us on, because that's where we put up a lot of information, is on our Instagram page.
Okay.
So Caribbean Life TV on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, and we have our website, CaribbeanLifeTV.com. Okay. So that's generally where we're doing what you call the CRM, the funnel, where you could, if you go to the website, you'll have everything. So that's what we work on. A new website is coming within the next month. We have a website now, but with the new look or the new feel and the new energy, we felt it was necessary to position or rebrand ourselves. People say, well, rebranding means something was wrong with the brand, but here's what it is. As you learn new information and you make new partnerships, they could lead you to a new whole look and feel and interaction with your stuff.
Well, you know what, man, like I said, I've seen the journey.
Yes.
And I wanted the folks to understand and just get a grasp of what it took.
Yes.
Because you could have easily given up. You know, 'cause once you came into this space, you know, you met with a lot of opposition. You don't even have to tell me. I know.
Yes.
Because I met with the same type of opposition.
Yes.
So you doing it on a grander scale in terms of the TV, the radio, podcast, movies, sitcoms. That's a much larger scale.
When you met me, none of those things were even in my head. I just want you to know that because all of those things evolved out of me with me just keep going.
Keep going. What?
I want you to know that because
and having that vision.
Yes.
Which is key.
Yeah.
You know, against the odds.
Oh God.
You know,
if you only know.
Odds. And so that's why I wanted you on the program because you are a perfect example of just persistent, resilience, stamina, and just have that focus.
Yeah.
And I want you to be an example to the folks out there who want to do something like this, but is just afraid.
Gosh.
I
made
you
so much
are
like
a
that.
perfect example.
Thank you so much, man. Listen, thank you,
appreciate
guys.
you.
This guy behind the scenes has been a supporter of Lawrence and my vision from day one.
Yes.
Behind the scenes, you've seen a lot of acts on Caribbean Life TV. This guy. So I think with people like yourself, that helps undergird anyone's vision, it could only be better because everyone that you've sent my way, encouraged me to, or whatever, has helped to make this a better,
took it to the
next step. And so to everyone that has been a part of the team and part of that journey from inception, I say thank you. I stand on your shoulders and I'm grateful. Thank you.
Folks, this has been another edition of Take 5. I can't say no more than that. I can't say no more than that.
This was awesome, man. Listen, I see why people like coming on this program, man.
Thank you. We'll catch you on another edition of Take 5 with yours truly, Ricovibes, my special guest today, Mr. Lawrence Prescott, Caribbean Life TV. Catch you next time.